when you're struck with a mental illness, it's extremely and excruciatingly painful and very lonely. There's an incredible amount of shame involved in having mental illnesses. What happens is you begin to realize that you can't depend on your brain working properly, and therefore you're out of your mind.
Mental illness is defined as a disorder of some kind that affects your ability to think normally, feel normally, process life experiences normally. I mean, there's just a lot of misperception about what mental illness is and just how many people it affects. Mental illness is far from a fringe experience.
Churches are filled with people who have a diagnosis, but they're not talking about it because they're afraid to. People think they're going to get judged as though it's a sin and that it's something that they should be able to take care of. The reality is our brains are an organ just like any other organ in our body.
Our brains are subject to forces like decay, disease. The brain can also be healed. It can also be restored. One of God's favorite things is redemption. I mean, that is the business that He is in. If death itself cannot separate us from the love of Christ, mental illness doesn't have that power either. And we don't need to grant it that power.
Fresh Hope is a peer-to-peer, Christ-centered mental health support group. We work very hard to make sure that people are empowered to live the fullest faith-filled life possible through Christ, in spite of having a mental health diagnosis or loving someone who has a mental health diagnosis. We're on a mission to break down hopelessness. The church has the hope for those who have lost their hope. And yet only 3 to 4% of churches report that they are ready to respond. Fresh Hope offers them the opportunity to respond. We train facilitators so that they can have groups at their church.
This is where the church really comes in and has an opportunity to shine around mental health issues. Those ideas that people with mental illness need to be avoided at all costs, they need to be separated from the rest of us, they're out of control, they can't live a normal life. When we put them down, when we make them feel like they're less than we are, we're communicating that that's the way God sees them. I don't think that's the message that any of us wants to send, because we all know that's not true. God has loved every single one of us at our worst, at our ugliest. We did nothing to deserve His grace and His love. So we need to be willing to extend that same kind of radical grace to other people. And when we do that instead, and we send a message that this is the way God sees you and loves you, that's transformative. That can't help but change the world.